Hey, welcome to Shop Talk Tuesday. If it's Tuesday in your neck of the woods, it is Shop Talk Tuesday. Hey, welcome back to I Know a Guy Bicycles, Hanging with a Guy. Hey, I am Justin, the guy. And hey, today's episode, we're just going to be talking about the beginnings of January and how things just are just rolling along and doing its thing. So without further ado, we'll just dive right into a lot of this, and we'll wait for a couple of people to come in. I may have a special guest if they can find their computer or I don't glitch. What is going on? I'm glitching already right off the bat. Well, what is going on here? Oh no. This is definitely oh, there we go. Okay. Woo. Ugh, I just froze there, and apparently it's winter. I just froze. And I froze again. What is going on? All right. Whoa. Hopefully we have a better connection. Somewhere along the lines, my internet decided to take a dive. But in any case, welcome to Shop Talk Tuesday. And today we're going to just talk about general state of the state and stuff of the stuff. And looks like I may have a special guest here. Hopefully we can get him on board. But in any case, hope you guys are all having a good Tuesday. And let's see here. Oh, there it is. Maybe it was the platform that was having some issues. There we go. Add the chat to it. Feel free to join the conversation. This is one of the more interactive cycling industry topic. Bike shop guy in the garage. And you're just joining us. Thank you for joining Shop Talk Tuesday. And if this is your first time, hi, I'm Justin from I Know a Guy Bicycles, and I've been in the industry for 35 years or so. And I do have a garage shop, and basically out of my home. I've downsized or scaled out or what have you want to call it. My life journey is basically promoted me into a shop in my own garage. So there's a little snapshot of where I'm sitting in the corner. Got put in the corner. And let's see if we can get Mr. Bradley to join us.
I'm trying.
Okay. Well, we got some sound, so there we go. How the heck are you doing?
I'm good. Challenging times here, but I'm good.
Yeah. If you don't know, John Bradley's in Minnesota, in the Twins. Is it the Twin Cities?
Yeah, we're in southwest Minneapolis.
Okay, so yeah, it's been interesting to say the least.
Yeah,
last week.
It's hard, honestly.
Yeah. Well, we'll try to help you get out of your head of your state of the state and talk about bike stuff and that state of the state.
Yeah.
Out of the frying pan into the fire, right? But in any case, we got a couple people joining us here, and special edition, adding John. He likes to jump in periodically, and we talk about stuff, bike stuff, and old stuff, and new stuff, and everything in between.
Yep.
but yeah, it's been an interesting year. What do you think? I mean, I had a couple shows without you talking about the end of 2025 and how the world is kind of, well, bike cycling world to be specific, is kind of in its weird nutshell going on. And what are we looking at in 2026 is the change, you would think?
Boy, it just feels chaotic. I mean, I think it's, I mean, I wish I could predict the future, but, and I'll tell you one thing. I mean, I guess I feel good that I have my bicycle because it's kind of an escape route for me if I need to kind of get away from how things are feeling right now, both about the industry and the country. But I think we're in for more. It's going to be more of a bumpy ride, I guess. There's a lot of instability in the business, and I don't see how that's going to get cleared up anytime soon.
Yeah, that's it's unfortunate what we're as a cycling industry is kind of faced with, because there's no ability for the big companies to have any predictability. John's been in the industry for 50 plus years, not to date you, gonna have to carbon date you here soon. But you
I'm leaving.
And
I'll just go turn the lights on. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Yeah. Yeah, because we were looking at those particular scenarios that's happened in the last 9 months, even a year, even less. And some of those things we've seen over the course of our being in industries of like downturn economy, inflation, trouble trying to do pipeline of inventory going in and out and that kind of thing. But we haven't had it all just hit all at once. And it doesn't seem to have any kind of correction and a whole bunch of sprinkle of new stuff on top of it. And looking at those, when you're looking at the big companies like Trek, Specialized, Giant, or anybody that wants to sell any product in the United States, where the market is definitely softening, it makes it very difficult for those companies to forecast. And I came up with that conversation piece, I think a week ago, and I was like, what is the lag? I mean, if you're sitting right now in your boardrooms at Trek or Specialized, and you're like penciling in your orders and trying to collaborate numbers and what the market's going to be wanting or needing going into the next lead time of orders being issued to be produced and to be shipped in the United States, what's the time from putting the pencil to paper to the product actually hitting the doors of your bike shops?
Probably a fast one would be maybe 3 to 4 months, I guess. That would be really fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's for
a lot of things.
All goods, right?
Very little stuff happens overnight. I mean, it's stuff takes a while to get developed and germinate and all that. So.
Gotcha. And for bikes, it's probably a longer lead time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you're able to convert something quickly, it's like, hey, let's just make that change, and that'll do something to improve the function, the looks, or whatever that makes the bike more attractive. Sometimes that can happen, but from a blank piece of paper, I mean, it literally can take years sometimes for stuff to develop. So
okay. So you're looking at a pretty long lead time, for new stuff. For general stuff, the adjustments have already been in place. And we're probably just now starting to see those inventory adjustments from last summer. You think?
Yeah. I mean, everybody's trying to get a handle. I mean, things are so unpredictable right now. Just about every level of our society. I mean, economically, politically, all that. And all these things can have an impact. I mean, if people aren't feeling comfortable. They don't spend money. They kind of, hunker down.
Yeah.
If they do, hey, let's go out and blow some money. That being said, there's a lot of people. There's also an element that, oh, gee whiz, I see the end of the world out there. I'm going to go buy the best bicycle I've ever had because I've been waiting all these years. I mean, there is some of that, like, life is short of dessert first. Let me get that new bike. So
Sure.
yeah.
And, with the American economy, I mean, those who are usually recession resistant to some level. They still have the means to go buy that $5,000, $10,000 bike to the most point, but when you're looking at the general shift of, well, let's backtrack. I mean, they've been discounting all these high-end bikes for the last 2 to 3 years because of the downturn of too much inventory and whatever. So you would think all those who can afford it have already bought on a discount, and they're not going to, it's not like toilet paper. You're not going to buy, like, next year, you're going to buy the latest model. You're going to, that kind of investment, you're going to hold on to for several years. So they depleted that market. But there's one thing, you mentioned before, and this is where I would see a lot of companies will start digging into their pipeline of ingenuity, new ideas, and what have you, to kind of to jumpstart the excitement of their brand. And that's what you call it, new. The new product. We saw last year the 13-speed of Campanoli, the Trek Checkout full suspension gravel bike. I think Specialized had a new road bike in the mix too. But that was such more upper end, shiny flash in a pan. Will that inspire the sales for the lower end products, do you think?
Typically, the innovation typically happens. It's a top down thing. So something comes out at the top, and then you try and evoke that further down the line. Whether it's suspension forks, getting more and more affordable, or more gear and becoming more affordable. But I mean, part of the problem with everybody right now is there has been a lot of discounting, and the reality of it is all these bikes that people got a great deal on, though some of them were sold at a loss by various companies just because they need the cash. Cash in hand is better than a bike that somebody won't buy. And the new bicycles are going to reflect that. Those bikes are now considerably more expensive than a similar bike would have been a year ago because of the tariffs, because of whatever else is affecting pricing right now. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, I think I saw a letter from somebody. I'm trying to remember, maybe it was Bicycle Retail, and it was complaining about the bike industry needs to focus not just on the top end right now, because all the development typically, it's top down, but somebody building a good, affordable, fun to ride bicycle, affordable and fun to ride at the same time. And there's not a lot of focus on that. And that's the contention is, how do you get somebody into cycling if they have to spend, $1,000 or more, whatever somebody would consider, where is that entry level excitement? And, e-bikes right now, there's a lot of really cool things happening with e-bikes. I mean, that's probably where all the R&D is primarily going. The market potential is massive, but, a decent e-bike, I mean, most people would balk at, because you got to spend, $1,500 to $2,000 to get a decent e-bike. You can tell I'm sort of fishing here. I mean, it's hard to describe this because it's unlike anything I've ever been through before. So,
yeah. Case in point, there's a lot in the industry. I mean, veterans as yourself, looking at this and you're just scratching your head like, this is just and you're probably really, really happy that you're like, I'm retired and I really don't have to deal with that part of it. Because I don't think you'd want John Burke going on, so what do we do now? You're like, I don't know.
Oh no, that was there's probably an element of truth to that. I mean, product management is really cool. I mean, it's, you get an idea, like you identify, hey, that's a need, or that I tried this type of bike and it's really fun. We should do that. It's like it's pretty cool. You get to meet all these great people. I mean, my career was amazing in terms of who I've met as a result of what I did, just starting as a 15-year-old twerp in a bike shop in Denver. But yeah, it is fun, but it's also kind of challenging. I mean, I think the other problem right now is I think there are times in our society when there's more of a pro bike sort of vibe. We were pro bike because mountain bikes were cool. That was great. It's interesting because a lot of the people who were excited about mountain bikes weren't so much that they were going to go ride the Colorado Trail or some wonderful trail. They were just like, my God, it's an upright bicycle. I can ride a bike and look cool. Nobody's going to rip me. It brought cycling into much broader market through that. The business right now it always has been, it's been boom and bust. It's in my lifetime, it's been, I think there was a 3-speed, they were referred to as English racers, which I do not. If you've ever ridden an English 3-speed, I have no idea where they were called English racers, but that's what they were when I was a kid. Stingrays, 10-speed boom in the early 70s. There's all this kind of boom. I mean, the biggest thing we ever saw was the mountain bike boom. I mean, that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Tri-boom was big, just kind of concurrent with the mountain bike boom. So, and it's interesting because a lot of this stuff was not necessarily generated by us, by the bike industry. It was like, wow, that's really cool. I saw somebody doing that with a bike. I'm going to try that. Hey, that'd be a great product. You figure out, hey, a lot of people would like to buy that because it's really fun, or makes sense in my life. So,
well, yeah, I mean, reading a little bit of history, like one of the first booms is the bike paths being developed in New York. Like, even though it's a very small perspective, but that was part of it. And also the bicycle with a cut through frame where ladies, women design, they can get on a bike with a dress and ride, which give a liberation of that. So when you're looking at it as all these peaks and valleys and peaks and valleys, and when COVID hit, even in the when everything blew up, I was like, it's gonna crash, like it's gonna go down. But I don't think anybody knew how they were hoping it was going to last a little bit longer, like the mountain bike boom and everything else. It just like it tumbled and crashed just almost as fast as it blew up.
Yeah, that was a hard stop. I mean, it was funny. I probably commented to you sometime. I was out riding in Fort Collins, and it's like, my God, where are all these Univegas coming from? And I hadn't seen a Univega in years, and people were dragging bikes out of the basement, and you were working on all of that kind of stuff, and because you couldn't buy a new bike. I mean, it was amazing. But yeah, the end of that was rude. It was a hard stop. I mean, I think there are more people riding now, which is always good. Unfortunately, I think under the current governmental aspect right now, I think we're probably now in more of an anti-bicycle vibe than we are in a pro-bicycle vibe, which is unfortunate. Because if you build a lot of great bike paths, I mean, it's like in Fort Collins and Loveland. I mean, it's wonderful, and people get out on bikes because people are like, hey, Justin, you should go for a ride. I just hit this new part of the Pooter Trail or something like that. That really helps the industry. And particularly also, people feel safe on paths where a lot of people won't ride on city streets because they don't feel safe.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
that isn't helping right now. That we're in kind of like, no, we're not going to spend money on bike paths or that type of thing. It's all cars all the time right now. So.
Well, from the big picture, but I mean, you still have a lot of local cities that are still, and counties are still developing. They either already acquired that cash and has
Right.
set aside and are still doing that. So we'll probably see more of a deficit on construction of that in the next year or two. But we're so fortunate here in Colorado where we've been building that cycling infrastructure for decades.
Yeah.
And when people move here, they're just blown away. Like, yeah, right at my door here, you jump on the bike path and you can do a double century and not be on the same bike path twice going the same direction. It's just like, so much. And then at some point it's going to connect to the Denver metro area. Then you just go forever. But the thing is, for a lot of us, and what I've seen with that conjunctions with the e-bike trend, where it gets a lot of people out riding, which helps people be healthier, little get out of their head, have those not the mental break, but a break from being mental, and just kind of moving along and just be, worry about the squirrel or the chipmunk or whatever, and the blue skies or whatever, and not be so worried about it. And every time I go out, especially in the summertime, I'd see a batch of these old ladies, and I call them the grannies, and they're just so cute. They're like about 6 to 10 of them, and they're not going fast. They're all on e-bikes, and half the time they're taking breaks. And when I see them, it's just like, this is what cycling is about to me.
Right.
Getting out there, having a good time, which is about the 95% of us. Sure, some of us want to be a little more competitive and do races and so forth, but still it's a novice level, and you just want to have a good time. And the trouble parts of the big companies through 25 and trying to survive for them for 26 and 27, the small independent bike shops, what I've gathered, and which there's several in the chat right now, have adjusted quickly. They see what the change was in their own stores. What's end of the week, like, what did we sell? Oh, we sold a lot of labor. We sold these parts. We sold this, that, and the other. And they're just going with it. And they're like, okay, this is what the demand is on your local bike shops. And we've been already seeing a scale down on size of footprint. So, I mean, if any shop's doing really good with the service and everything, and they ask me right now, should I expand? I'm like, take a minute, think about it. I would roll for the next 3 to 5 years, to sign a longer lease for a smaller amount, just to make sure we're good. And then then approach that, because I've had a couple of shops are like, we should probably expand. I'm like, I
mean, you should, if you've got it figured out, like, it'd be, I mean, it's always a bet. But if you're bursting at the seams and people are going crazy, or, your employees are, at each other's throats because they don't have enough room to work or whatever, there can be some rationale for expansion. But generally is like, hey, if I had if I expanded my footprint, doubled my footprint, my sales would double. It's like, no. You want to be extremely careful with that. One thing I want to go back a little bit to, you're talking about, people getting out and riding. Yesterday, I was driving over to my in-laws, and I was listening to public radio, and there was a study that showed that physical activity is better than a lot of antidepressant drugs. And, I think the one thing I kind of wish is that the industry would really promote cycling, the sort of the positive aspects. Like, it's for everybody. It makes you feel better, that type of thing, and be inclusive. You don't have to spend, $5,000 on a carbon Uber bike. I mean, sorry, I almost used a bad word there. I mean, $5,000 is no longer an Uber bike, which I cannot. It just blows me away. But
yeah, right.
Yeah. but cycling is a good thing. It's like, the car crowd always cracks me up. They're so anti-cycling, and you get off the streets, it's like, dude, if more people rode bikes to work, there'd be less cars. You'd get to work faster or something. There's a number of
Yeah.
ways to look at it. But we really have a great sport, a great activity. It makes you feel better. You don't have to be a racer to fully enjoy your bike. I mean, I'm trying. I don't think you've seen my 1973 Hercules 3-speed, but not a bike you ride fast anywhere. But I loved riding that bike. It just is a joy to ride. It's like, I know I'm not going to race anybody, although sometimes I do. It's like the old racer never dies.
Oh yeah, it's still in there.
But I just love riding bikes. I mean, it's people ask me, do I race anymore? And my line for that is, I just race my mouth, which I'm good at, as you can tell. But
Oh yeah, I raced my youth, which
yeah.
is.
But I think promoting an affordable, just cycling is good for you, type of thing would be really good. During the Eisenhower years, there was a bit of a bump in cycling because Dwight Eisenhower's heart physician. Now, those of you who don't recall, Eisenhower was not only the general that helped win World War II, but U.S. president for 2 terms. He had a heart attack here in Colorado, and actually he spent a lot of time at Fitzsimmons. He and his wife, Mamie Dowd, was from Colorado. His wife, who was a friend of my grandma, by the way.
History lesson and a connection.
Yeah.
Weird.
But anyway, his doctor was Dr. Paul Dudley White, and he was a nationally known physician because he was Eisenhower's heart surgeon, doctor, whatever. I'm not sure if he was a surgeon or just a heart doctor, but he became a national figure. Schwinn had him doing a lot of promotional stuff, and he was seriously promoting cycling as a great activity for your health and for your attitude and all that. And that's back, we're talking, basically during the 1950s. That's when Eisenhower was president. So, there's an opportunity there. It's like, advertising can be really expensive, but I think I would like to see more of the industry going, man, this is a fun thing to do. It makes me feel better type of vibe. And you don't have to spend, you don't have to spend $1,000 to have a good time bike. In fact, your business is all about, hey, what's really cool, what you're doing is you're getting bikes that were, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 sometime and selling them for 10% of that, 20% of that.
Oh yeah.
And it may not be completely up to date, but man, it's a joy to ride, and.
Well, yeah, with a few, I mean, getting them tuned up, and sometimes, I mean, I just worked on it's an older tech full suspension client, and there's some people out there like, oh, the suspension, whatever, and that kind of thing. But if you really think about it, I mean, if you're just recreational riding, just want to take a bike camping, do some dirt, what have you, that's like a $2,000-$3,000 bike in the day now for less than $1,000, fully tuned up, ready to go. Yep. And it has plenty of miles and plenty of smiles to go with it. Yep. And that's and that's where I think the industry, I'm going to use the term from, I had a conversation with the legendary Gary Fisher yesterday. And he basically, we talked about a lot of things in 40 minutes. So it was like crazy, but unfortunately, it was just a off the books call. But it pretty much painted. I think the industry painted itself in a corner, and that's what he was saying, in the sense that they were so focused on, the high end and the latest and the new and all that. And they and that's where my business flourished, because it fit into getting you into, and the original idea was getting you into a road bike for under $1,000. That's good as the $1,500 to $2,000 bike of today, and actually has probably a little bit nicer bits on it, that kind of thing. And for the entry level to novice to even, second, I mean, shy of Pro Racer, those are still really good bikes to ride and have fun and without breaking the bank. And that's where all those the bigger brands were not making a bike that price point. And there's a few others, but the componentry was so scaled down. I mean, it's still a decent bike. It shifted and stopped, but it was way heavier, not as comfortable to ride. And those variable things that you can change on some of the nicer 10, 15, 20-year-old bikes to ride today. So, road bike is its own niche, and it has more of a longevity because not much has changed as like mountain bikes, where you got the 27-inch wheel, the 29-inch wheel, got all those suspension bits that have changed over the last 10 years. The supporting factor of those suspensions is about 3 years. So if you have like a 10-year-old fork, it's going to be really hard to find parts for or anybody to work on it. So that's kind of where the painting in the corner portion of it is, because it just kind of kills the used market to some level, because you got to really have a specialized tech that knows how to work on those, have been trained on it back then, because they're not training anybody on that old stuff new now. It's all forward facing. So but for the general hardtail recreational fun bikes, I would say in the States, we have such a huge surplus from the last 3 decades of just constantly buying and buying and buying. I'm sure most garages have 2 or 3 bikes they've bought over the years that just been sitting there collecting dust. And those need to get out there and go ride. We have a huge inventory to tap into. And listening into the national MBDA, they were saying about less than 8% of the bike shops right now are tapping into the used market, where that's really the only thing that's really kind of selling right now. So that's a lot of bike shops are going to be in trouble if they don't really change their direction and go that direction, I would think.
Yeah, it's I mean, it is a bit of a sea change. I mean, you gotta, one, look at the bike and go, what do I need to do to bring it up, sort of up to speed, so to speak, for today's rider. It requires a different mindset, but yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, it keeps things out of landfills. It, brings bikes, into high performance bikes into a more affordable price point for people. I mean, you look at the car industry, these previously owned, or whatever they want to call it. They never say used anymore, but they have these certified vehicles. And I mean, Trek was trying that. I'm not sure if the Red Barn thing is still going with Trek, but they were starting to push that at one point. I'm not sure if that's part of their marketing right now, but
that's interesting bit on the Red Barn part of it, is when they launched it is prior to them doing direct to consumer sales. So I think it was kind of for them kind of like a testing field or platform to how do we ship bikes and have somebody get them at their house, put it together and go for a ride without too much of a risk factor on both ends. So it's a win-win. And even though Specialized was already doing it, Canyon's been killing them over a couple years prior to that in the States. So I think it was kind of like a test run. But as being in the used at the time and specifically road, I was like, oh no, they're going to take my market away. And I looked in what their inventories are just all high end. It was just extremely high end, and right at the same parallel of the Pro's Closet, which that was their Achilles heel too, is too expensive. Even though it's used, it's still too expensive. And they could, I mean, I think Trek would have an edge over Specialized, Giant, and Pond, and all those other guys, because they already have the infrastructure in place for the Red Barn. They just need to shift the gear a little bit more for doing trade-in programs, trade-in events at their stores, bringing in a whole bunch of inventory as they can, anything, and not just be so pigeonholed to the age. Like, okay, we can fix up those 5200s or what have you, and still provide those good used bikes and really use that as a cash flow portal quickly. I think they could really leverage that if they really put the numbers to it and put a study on it.
I'm not so sure on that.
Really?
I mean, because it really would change their business model. I mean, I think it's probably more successful at the local level versus the national level, economically and stuff. I mean, you have a lot of flexibility with what you do. I mean,
It's true.
and yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting if you could do a study on whether they could make that work or not. I mean, that is not their business model, nor is it specialized, nor is it, any of the, major manufacturers. So there's probably some way to make it work better. Yeah,
they're just not into that. They do want to focus more on new products and just repeat instead of one-offs. Where that a lot alludes to the great opportunity for all these independent bike shops, big or small or otherwise, to leverage that. And one of the bigger shops that I've worked with, Will and Sprocket, talking to Noel last summer via email, and I think it was last summer, talking about like used, and it's like it's been like a injection of business for them because they've had like big, used bike sell tent events at each one of the locations every weekend throughout the summer, and I'm sure that's really help the community get more jazzed about riding, providing, work for their staff, not just meaningless work, but work to, work on these bikes and get them a pipeline, which makes the mechanic person of the shop more valuable than just somebody just assembling bikes and just doing random repairs.
Yep.
So it becomes more of a good cash flow running business model, which reminds me, that's what kind of Parker Bikes was. I mean, we were really service heavy for a little bike shop. I mean, we sold bikes, Treks and Specialized, or not Specialized, but Schwinn's and GTs, Mongooses and that. But the service was always, I mean, I remember just at the end of the day, we would have to pull all the bikes out of the shop and lock them up in the back, because that's how big of turnaround or overflow of service that we had to do. And then roll them in at night and it'd fill up the whole shop. I mean, we had bikes just piled up everywhere so we can close the doors and go home.
I remember that.
So
the other thing I think for retailers out there, I mean, the really good thing about the used market is, a lot of people come in and they're like, okay, I don't want to buy the Uber bike or whatever. What do you got? What's something under $1,000? And you find some nice road bike, and all of a sudden they go, man, I really like this. And sometimes they go, well, let me go look at that new bike. So your used bike sales can actually drive some of your new bike sales. It's not, I think a lot of people get concerned is that it's going to cannibalize their new bike sales, particularly if they've written some maybe overly optimistic preseason order with their main brand or whatever. And they go, man, we got to sell the new stuff. I don't have time to work on the used because I've got all this inventory over here. So there's a way to make that work to where both can help each other. And a lot of your used bikes, there's a number of people, getting to be my age, which I still am struggling with the fact of how old I am, but who are, for whatever health reasons, knee surgeries, whatever, come into, and they're looking at the e-bikes. And so all of a sudden there you go, here, let me trade in my, 33-year-old Diamondback mountain bike or whatever it is. And, you're getting a used bike that you can then refurbish and sell to somebody else. And you sell an e-bike, doing a trade-in type of thing. I mean, for a lot of stores, the whole thing with trade-ins, a lot of stores for years did not take trade-ins. They did not want that business. Oh, it's a pain in the butt or whatever. And now, people are like, hey, there's gold in them there bicycles. So,
yeah, especially since the newer bikes, either you can get them or they're way more expensive.
Yeah. I mean,
it have to have commitments too.
my semi addiction to refurbishing older bikes. I mean, you do hit some pretty interesting roadblocks occasionally, and I'm sure as you do, it's like,
Oh
dang, I thought this was going to work. I
yeah.
I had I have a Schwinn Super Sport here that it's kind of my townie bike that it's pretty cool. It's a Chicago built Schwinn Super Sport, so it's fillet brazed, chrome ollie, forged dropouts, just a cool frame. And I thought it'd be really cool to get a derailleur of the same vintage. And I found a Shimano Crane, which was the forerunner to the Durace derailleur series in Shimano's range. And I cleaned it all. I actually kind of took it apart and I cleaned it all up. And I actually was riding to a certain rather large gathering last spring at the Minnesota State Capitol. I was riding my way back on Summit Avenue, and the thing blew apart. All of a sudden, it was clunk, clunk, clunk. So, you do have to know when to get the parts to support that. Like maybe we shouldn't be relying on that 50-year-old, derailleur or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I mean, it also, I think there's an element of what I experience as a product manager is like, hey, this would be really cool. You get that bike and you probably do this, it's like, hey, this will be really cool if I do this. Like if I change that, 700 by 18C wheel set and put a wider tire on there, my God, the bike not only feels better, it actually it rides more easily and it's faster, so there's a lot of cool things you can do. It's an outlet for your creativity. So.
Oh, absolutely. And in conversions, I have the red Le Mans that I bought in Vegas and I brought it home, and I threw on some 28 inverted, I think they were Continental touring style, inverted tread style tires. And I rode that the other day, just not knowing if, is there sand on the road or whatever. Emphasis, I got to spread the love. I feel like if I don't ride a bike, it's like being put in the corner. So took it for a ride, and it's like I looked at my times and it was equal to, if not better than my full carbon bike with skinnier tires. It was like, and I mean, I had a great time both times, but this one was just like, it's just, I had a smile on my face and had a good time, and it was on my birthday. So, I'm in January, having a January birthday sucks where I live because it's a lot of times really cold or crappy weather. But I was able to go out on a 50, almost 60-degree day and go for a nice ride. And it's just, and that alludes to the other point. I have a customer, and he has those Brompton bikes, and he loves, when he travels, he loves taking them with him just because he can just ride. And these things, they go fast. They're little clown bikes and that kind of thing.
You might explain what a Brompton is, because some people may not know what they are.
Yeah, a Brompton, if you haven't seen Ted Lasso, it's a folding bike that has 16-inch wheels.
Some 16, and they've got a 20-inch wheel now as well.
And they're very popular in Europe because you can ride around in small places, very versatile. You can fold it, put a basket on it, use it as a shopping cart. These things are very versatile, ingenious design kind of thing. And so you can really pack them into a suitcase that can barely get through the air. The airlines will take them without charging you too much money. And therefore you have a folding bike, which is kind of, remember the Bike Friday back in the 90s, 80s, 90s? Yeah. Pilots in our area, we had a lot of pilots, and they'd have Bike Fridays, work on a lot of those because they get into whatever their layover is and then go ride around, or whatever the overnight is, and go ride around. Well, this gentleman, and he's like, I love these things and this and that. And he goes, he went to different countries and different parts of the United States and rode these things. And, I'm a mechanic. I get on it, I fix it all up, and, whatever the service needs to be done, I take it for a test ride. And, in my head, it's like, man, these are kind of uncomfortable, kind of like jarring, and the tires are kind of hard and all this. And I was talking to him about it, and an epiphany hit me. It's like, it's not necessarily the bike or what he was riding. It was the experience of where he was at that made that bike enable to have him that that wonderful experience.
Mhm.
So, and he was like, oh, yeah, that's probably right. Because I mean, strolling around in a winery area or coastal line or whatever, and you can, you've done a lot of traveling, and if you get to an area where you can actually get on a bike and go ride around, you'll see so much more.
It's great. I mean, Brompton things are funny. There's this whole subculture around it. There are actually Brompton stores. I think there are actually Brompton stores in New York. But they have a Brompton World Championship every year. I mean, it's actually I think they go to like an F1 course or something like that and have these big races. It's a big deal. But
Yeah,
that's a whole other, small wheel subculture out there. But yeah, I mean, there's so many cool bikes, and they make your life better. Yeah.
That's one of those things where. And the other thing, they do make a titanium one, in which this gentleman bought a titanium one because he'd packed the suitcase with other stuff, and it was over exceeding the weight capacity. So like, I'll lighten up the bike. That was his drive. It's not performance. It's not lighter while I was riding. It's like so I can shove more stuff in my bag so I can fly it to wherever I'm going. But yeah, that's. And there's another channel. I don't know if you've seen it. I think it's Burn Peak channel, which he has like 1 million subscribers, a lot. And he did a little video of like taking one of those Bromptons and doing like jumps at the BMX track.
Oh my God.
It's like, whew. Hope you have really good insurance, because that's not going to end well for you.
No, not built for that. But
no, not necessarily. But
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, all those companies, including Brompton, and if you read any of the press and so forth, are just having a hard time. And you touched on it before in the conversation we talked about. We had a conversation, John and I, yesterday, and talking about the mountain bike scene and how it blew up, and then it kind of fizzled a bit. Then we had Lance Armstrong, road biking got really big again, and then that kind of fizzled. But the early 2000s, there's this cool new wheel size for mountain bikes called 29. And the 29ers were, well, unfortunate because in Fort Collins, where really close I live, is Niner, which was one of the first companies, very small at the time, that's their primary bike was the 29er, 29 wheel size. And, a lot of people in the bike industry are like, what is this? What are you doing? A huge wheel, that kind of thing. And it proven to be really well received, and including Gary Fisher, when you were working at Trek or close to that period of time, or at least knew the circles of it, that he was part of that innovation of bringing the 29ers into the truck realm, as well as, specialized. It's kind of like a cascade effect. So with the conversation, and I've seen pictures of the new 32. And when I started talking to you about it, it's like the 32, wheel size is way bigger, would not accommodate shorter riders, but definitely the taller riders. If you're like 6'4" to 7 foot tall, that'd make your bike feel more appropriate. And I was talking to Fisher briefly, and he was telling me the benefits of that. And it's kind of like in my head, haven't ridden one yet. I just saw the press on one, and I think there's only 1 or 2 companies that are actually making these. But it takes the fat bike concept, but making the wheels larger in diameter, but skinnier, so it can roll over bigger and nastier conditions, like really muddy sections, really snowy sections, without being the sluggish feel of the fat bike is the performance factor back into a little bit. And primarily like cross country trail riding to downhill type thing. And what you brought to my attention after talking to Fisher, after talking to you about it, you were saying that's where those small adaptable frame building companies can take this and leverage it to be the new, and bringing that to become more of a, I wouldn't say industry standard, but more of a popular item. So, you know, what kind of, I mean, if your industry hat on, it's like, what kind of small frame builders do you think this would really benefit?
Oh, heck, anybody who's one is I would probably say immediately it's going to be somebody who's working in metal and steel, aluminum, or titanium. Just because, you know, tooling up your jig is a lot less expensive than building a new carbon fiber mold. And plus, what's going to happen with this is a number of smaller, you know, builders or whatever will come up. You know, they'll try this, and you know, Trek, Specialized, Giant, or whatever. They're all going to be looking. Is there a market here? Does this make sense? You know, can I make, you know, because they have to, you know, they have to build a certain number of bikes in order to make money off of, you know, introducing any one model. So they're going to be looking at that. Occasionally, one of those will get excited and take a flyer and go, "Yeah, this is it. I'll take that bet," which is, you know, pretty much what you're doing. It's funny though, you know, one of the things, just thinking back to the whole going from 26-inch wheels to 29-inch wheels and how controversial that was. And, you know, you think about, well, why do mountain bikes have 26-inch wheels? And that's because, you know, that's what Schwinn, you know, heavy duty, you know, paperweight bikes ran. And, you know, so the whole thing developed around those. I mean, there's been work on larger wheel sizes there. I think GT had 700D for a while. Do you remember that?
Huh. I remember that was in the 90s.
Yeah. You know, and we're all, you know, through this conversation, I always remember, and I probably said it on this podcast before, you know, I was in a marketing class, and you know, statement was made: the most powerful marketing word in the English language is new. So, you know, if you've got, hey, we've got a new 30, you're saying 32-inch, you know, size, it's bigger, better, you know, off you go. So we're all kind of addicted to that, because it's like a little hit, you know, it's like, something to get excited about, you know, brings people into the shop. I want to see that thing. I just read about it, or I heard those two knuckleheads on I Know a Guy Bicycle podcast talk about it. So, you know, it's there's some potential there. I mean, there are a lot of tall people, you know, just down the road from you, like Leonard Zinn, who could probably benefit from that bike. Or, you know, I remember Bill Walton used to have custom bikes built for him, and they always really strange looking, because they would be like, you know, a huge tall frame, and it would make a 700C road wheel look like it was on a trike or something. So, you know, there's a market there for it. It just is, the larger brands are always going at some level, you know, can we build this and make money? Does it make sense for us? And sometimes they might build it, it'll help their image, you know, even though they might not sell and make as much money if it was a broader appeal, but it helps drive their image as an innovative company. You know, everybody's always, innovative is generally thought to be a positive word. So there's some opportunity. I mean, you know, there's probably a lot of people looking, is this for real? You know, do we need to go? So,
yeah, I saw a picture of it. Either online or in somewhere. I was like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me!" You know, that was my first knee-jerk reaction, which was horrible, because I should be like, "Ooh, this is really cool," and I was like,
yeah.
"Oh, are you killing me?" Because I've been beaten by the over tech as a mechanic, the over complicity of designs of, you know, internal routing and all those kinds of things to make it less mechanically friendly to work on, for the word innovation to be aerodynamic, whatever, and which makes it, you know, more costly for the consumer and more problematic and training for the mechanic. But looking at just the wheel size and changing that, you put that wheel on a nice titanium or a nice steel Reynolds tubing, hardtail, maybe, you know, no suspension bike. It might, and with, you know, external cable routing and all that, I think you probably get a thing that just hum along and make you really smile about trail riding and be able to go over pretty much anything with your skill level, of course.
Yeah.
That perspective. But
Actually, I just had a thought. What might help it a little bit too, because large wheels is going to have a little bit more inertia to get the thing moving, but they might be really good on e-bikes because you had that little boost. You may not want to use your boost all the time, but it's like, oh yeah, I got to get this thing rolling. So there's probably something there. It just is whether there's a market size large enough for Trek Specialized Giant, whoever to, jump in. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Like you said, there'll be a couple brands, small, builders. And I'm sure at the Made Show in Oregon, I'm sure you'll probably see a few of those this coming year.
There's been work on larger wheel size for at least 10 years beyond 29-inch wheels. They've been kind of lurking out there. So
yeah,
now they're breaking cover, I guess, but we'll see.
Well, I don't think it's going to be as versatile as like the gravel bike, because the gravel bike had it's kind of like you could do anything on a gravel bike, pretty much. And it's basically a cross bike, where at some levels, that's where I've been riding for the last 3 decades. And I'm like, oh, these are great. But all of a sudden it's like, oh, we got this new thing called a gravel bike. I'm like, oh, well, there is some benefits of it, of course, because they have disc brakes now integrated in road wheels, and, definitely wider tires can be fit on there and all that. So, the technological and what have you made it a lot better. And looking at, the success of Niner and a lot of companies that leveraged the 29 through that early 2000s, because that was the thing where everybody was on 26s and they're like, ooh, I want to try the 29. And, talking about that being perceived as an innovative company, Trek came out with that Checkpoint, which was which is their full suspension gravel bike, which, if anything, it drew a lot of attention, people into the stores. They didn't build a lot of them. They're not a lot in the I think each Trek store had like 1, maybe 2, and they're all back ordered kind of thing. But it did bring out the excitement of something completely, not totally new, but it's new enough.
Mm-hmm.
And a new application of it. So, and then it got like on all the social media channels, and people are testing them and trying them out and all that. So regardless how like the reviews were good or bad or otherwise, it's still out there.
Yeah.
And it reminds me, when you're talking about new, what I revert to new in a business class was, what was the biggest product out there that had the biggest sell through in history, and probably very comparable to today, is when Coca-Cola decided to go, oh, we're going to make new Coke. And that tastes like crap.
That was a disaster.
Yeah.
Although I think there's some theory that because actually what it did, it reinforced that people like just regular old Coke instead of new Coke. And some people think there was like a little bit of reverse, marketing on that. Like, we'll just remind people how much they actually like Coke, and they're like, yeah, damn it, I'm gonna, pardon my French, but I'm sticking with Coke. I don't know that. Man, I haven't thought about that in years, and I'm the old guy in this deal. So
I was a kid. I was a kid when it came out. Like, ooh, try this new Coke, and it's like, this is weird.
It's horrible.
It didn't hold up, and I think their marketing part just it worked for them because they backpedaled on it and they got rid of it eventually. But I think it just that was like, even though it was such a flop, it was such a positive flop. I don't know.
Well, we're always looking for something new. I think about shops, and I mean, having new stuff is not bad because you want somebody to, hey, maybe I should go darken your door, and come in and see that new thing.
Yeah.
Or, it's a good thing to tell somebody, oh, you got to try this new trail, whether it's paved or unpaved or whatever. I mean, oh, it's great. It'll change your life. So new is not bad. I mean, I think, just anything to get people in your door is good. As long as it makes sense. That I'm not new for the sake of new, but it's good. We should always be on the lookout for something, because you need something to attract people to come to, into your shop. And new also brings new people into the industry. It's like, oh, I heard about that new e-bike thing. E-bikes are still a new thing to a lot of people right now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't say it's completely flooded. And I think there's a lot of people still very intrigued about getting into that. And the industry in itself is shaking through bad battery issues from like Rad Sports, or, a lot of the inexpensive ones got floated into the United States through de minimis, that kind of thing. So once we, get more correct product, safe product, reliable product, and also the price come down a little bit, even though there was rebates, those are bleeding out. I think in Colorado, there were a certain amount, and they're by half at the beginning of the year. So they're reducing those out. But there's several people on my channel, or they're probably in a chat right now, that's all they do is working on electric assist bikes and scooters. And that's their business. And they've been flourishing. I mean, to a point where they need to take a break. Like, we need to shut the store down for 2 weeks during Christmas to take a breather, because it was really good. But they have to readjust. So there is opportunities, and there's a lot of shops have shifted to doing service and selling those. And our, local shop here rolled into Recycle Cycles, and they needed to buy a part off of me because they needed to fix one of their service bikes. And I was talking to the guy there, and it's like, so what's been like selling for you guys? Because I was thinking in my head, it was like a lot of used parts and that kind of thing, because that's where I've been really having a lot of success. He just pointed to the e-bikes. He was like, those are the ones right there. That's what's, like it or not, that's what we're selling. Still, yeah. Like, okay. And I asked about service, and he was like, yeah, that's kind of been kind of slower. I'm like, which really kind of made me like, okay, there's a lot of people getting service done. Where are they getting it done at? Because, so yeah, it's interesting. I would say if you were a bike shop and your e-bike sales are down, or your used, if you are selling used and that's down, or your service is down, what's going on? Is it reputation of your shop? Is that the advertising's not getting out and reaching those people? Is the marketing not getting there? Whatever the case may be, because that's what's actually driving right now. And if you're missing something, it could be just an anomaly in your market, but I would say if you're not seeing a decent growth there, I'd be looking into trying to either promote it or clean up your branding a little bit, that kind of thing. So, because I mean, John, through shops, working with shops through the years, and I mean, what's the drastic change for a shop have you seen from what ecosystem that they were like initially started with and like change to a different one?
Oh, I mean, it took a while for people to recognize the mountain bikes were for real, for one thing. And that was a big change. I mean, I remember that because I was working at the Denver Spoke, which is like one of the nation's leading pro racing bike places in the country.
Mostly roadie, right?
Yeah. And it took a while, but not very long, because again, you're bringing people in, and if somebody gets into cycling, we had a number of people come in and finally, I want to buy that Ritchie or that Specialized or whatever. mountain bike, and then all of a sudden they get into road bikes as a result. It's like, this cycling thing's kind of cool. So they can help each other. I mean, the thing I think for a store is like, one is you got to be into it a little bit. Yeah, because people can tell if you're not really into it. Oh,
Yeah.
I got this bike over here because Justin told me I should carry it. I'm really not into the thing.
But they sell, but I don't like selling them. It's like, we've always, to be very truthful, we've always had some products, especially if you're at a bigger shop in your store, that you're just not into, but you carry them because you sell them. And at the time, like for me, it was kind of, I mean, we sold road bikes at the time. I was not into road bikes. I was into mountain biking.
Yeah.
It was like, we saw road bikes. That's kind of cool. And I worked on really, really, really nice road bikes back then, but I didn't really appreciate them as much as I should have, as I do now. I mean, like this, like 1997 classic, Le Mans, I put it together, and the 600 Dura-Ace componentry is like, oh, this stuff is like, this is stuff. And back then I was like, what are you bothering me with? I want to work on this XTR stuff. Where's the mountain bike?
The one thing that brought to mind the failed experiment at the Denver Spoke is at this point I was an assistant manager. Doug Beeler was the manager, and Pat Clark was another assistant manager. And he convinced Doug that we should stock some BMX stuff, which is like, it was not a good fit. Some of the other employees, it's pretty funny. This one guy started putting subliminal messages on the pegboard where all the product, all the accessories were hanging, like, go ask your mom for more money, and to buy this stuff. I mean, it was hilarious. It didn't work out. I mean, that you got to be true to it. You got to, if you're going to bring something in, when one is you say, oh yeah, I want to make some money because I want to keep my the lights on and my income coming. But it helps if you're into it. If you can find the joy in that product, hey, that's pretty cool. Maybe I don't own one, but I love these things. They're pretty good. It could be a Brompton, as a folding bike, a turn, a cargo bike. I mean, who knows? You got to have some of that enthusiasm, though. At least for me, it's like if I all of a sudden, it's like you pick that combination, like, God, that's pretty cool. I can sell that because I love it. Here, you should try one, Justin, and off you go. So,
yeah, well, it's if you can sell it or your market is wanting it. That's two different things. Yeah. Because you got to have that person wanting to come into your shop or buying offline. I mean, going back to the BMX, and if you don't know what the Denver Spoke was, it's an iconic road bike, like high end, all the Italian names, bike shop. I mean, it was known and like renowned. And BMX is just so far polar opposite of road bikes.
That didn't work.
And at Parker Bikes, we carried GT and Mongoose, and then within those lines there was Dyno and Paralite and a couple others, and they were really cool. And I think how my dad Tom was into it. I mean, he didn't ride BMX bike at all, but what his into it was that he loves an opportunity to get kids into cycling.
Yeah.
With something simple, even though these were back in the day, they were expensive to the household economics. I mean, $300, $400 BMX bike is nothing today, but back then that was pretty expensive. But they were still pretty cool. I mean, the power lights were lightweight, super aluminum. The GTs were pretty cool. Mongoose had a strong name. And there's a few BMX tracks, this is before pump tracks were a thing. So they still had those, and we got affiliated with a couple little teams. There's one in like Elizabeth, I think was a team, and or a track, and there's a couple in Aurora. And, I think for him is in even though he didn't ride BMX bikes or was not really into it, but he was into what it helped with getting kids into riding. And that kid grew older and got a mountain bike. And then from there got a college bike. And it was just like this huge lead in where, to be quite honest, a lot of the big brands don't have that lead in entry level bike portal.
Right.
I mean, you go to any like Trek corporate store and you'd be really hard to find any kids bikes. I mean, they have a handful of them, but they're in the dusty corner, like some stepchild. I can say redheaded because I was one, in the corner. And it's like, they're not cultivating the newer riders or people getting back into riding and all that kind of thing. So I think where the introduction of where is it? Saw in like the one of the big bullet points is the affordability, the affordable performance bikes, where the Shimano new Cues, like e-bike stuff, or not e-bike, gravel bike and electronic even, they're finally trickled down on that component, the tech on that, to where the price points they're still expensive, but not $5,000 expensive. And putting on just, hardtails, aluminum, and getting people, something that they can get into, that kind of thing.
Yeah. But, I mean, one thing I do want to clarify, I mean, I'm not anti BMX. It just was a bad cultural fit at the Denver. I mean, it almost was hanging under the shadow of Alexei Grewal's gold medal winning. So at Los Angeles Olympic winning gold medal road bike was hanging over the register there. And it was pretty close to that. It just didn't work. But yeah, I agree. I mean, it's, the thing that kills me about a lot of road bikes or a lot of kids' bikes is that if you end up buying that, discount store kids' bike, I mean, they're not very good. They're not well made, or they don't ride well. I don't know if they ever get any kids to try them, but it's kind of unfortunate that. And the other side of that is, how much engineering and work, can you build a good, affordable kids bike? That's a bit of a challenge.
Well, on the flip side, it'd be the questions like, we've been building mass production bikes and BMX bikes, kids bikes for decades. You'd think they'd get to a point where it's so homed in. It's not like they need to like reinvent the coaster brake. It's like,
well, somebody did, according to the truck.
Oh, yeah. I think that was a grease thing. The grease gun ran out and they didn't hit all of them or something. But anyway, I'm not sure exactly that. But I mean, it's also the volume, or I don't know. I mean, build a power light cheaper now than they did back in the 90s?
No, I mean, probably not. I mean, those are high-end chromoly frames or aluminum frames. Well, maybe the aluminum, but I mean, a lot of the bikes I'm talking about, it's like, if somebody's looking to spend under $100 for a kid's bike, you're going to get something that, maybe it'll have Barbie stuff or, Power Rangers, whatever the theme is, and it's kind of cute and the kid might like it. And, there are kids who can go beyond them. I guess the thing I get worried about is, a quality bike hopefully leads to a higher quality experience. But, when you're buying a bike that's built for under $100, which, you got to be careful with it too, from the shop perspective too, because there's a lot of people can't afford a bike over $100. So you don't want to belittle them because they bought their kid a bike at, discount place, Target or Walmart or whoever.
Oh yeah.
So you got to watch that kind of comfortably. I mean, there are ways to talk about it. It's like, sometimes you get a bike in it doesn't make sense to repair anymore because you're going to exceed the value of the bike or, whatever. But anyway, we digress. So.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of companies, Huffy, Kent, they do mass volume bikes. They're the ones that sell to Target and Walmart and so forth. And I do have to say that the quality on, the bikes from the 90s to now are a little bit better, but there's still the missing component of having them fine-tuned, really, to a point where they're adjusted correctly. The hubs are adjusted. I did 2 over the hall. I mean, a neighbor friend of mine, he's like, oh, I got these 2 bikes. I bought them for the boys. Can you put them together? And, one, the headset hubs and bottom bracket were all too tight, all way too tight. Like you can feel the notching of each bearing. And, like the bottom bracket was dry. But once I adjusted everything, it was okay. I mean, they'll be fine. And the second bike was shockingly a lot better. Like the hubs were smooth. The crank, everything was, just needed less adjustments, and that would have been a little bit better out of the box. And these are direct to consumer bikes. Like they were anticipated to have the parent or somebody put these together for the kids. So, I mean, there's still a little lacking of that direct to consumer part of it for safety reasons, in my perspective. But that does show that if they really, I mean, my dad even said this in the 90s, like if they really got their crap together, they could really put us out. I mean, they could, if they did some adjustments and got pro mechanics building it. But my buddy Jack went into, what was it, Dick's Sporting Goods, and they're supposedly have professional mechanics building their bikes. They don't do service there, but there's like one bike had the fork on backwards. The other one was missing the bolts for the head plate for the bar. It's like, I hope these were just not ready to be sold bikes.
Right.
Like there's got to be a story behind that, but it's like, oh, it didn't look good. I mean, it's just like you're missing parts and stuff. It's not safe. Yeah. But that's where, unfortunately, that's where a good portion of the individuals, like you said, can't afford going into a bike shop, and they're afraid to use because they just don't know what they're looking for and all of that. Where they do roll in the Walmart, and I live next to a Walmart, and half the time in the summertime I'm in line getting my stuff, and I'm seeing somebody rolling a bike to the front, and you're like, that's where it is. That's where a lot of sales are.
Well, yeah, and actually there's actually I'm gonna leave that alone. I had a thought there, but
Could step away from that. All right. But I mean, there was a huge within the YouTube realm, the Ozark Trail gravel bike that Mongoose was, or not Mongoose, I'm sorry, Walmart was selling. It looked like a Mongoose, like the old green, kind of thing. That's what it got in my head. And I looked at them, and they're not too bad, as a visual.
One of the Waltons, somebody in the Walton family is a big cyclist, which is one of the reasons you see a lot of people. I mean, I had friends this past year who went out and rode the trails in Bentonville, Arkansas, which I had traveled to Bentonville, Arkansas, and I don't know if I saw any bicycles when I was there with WD-40. But now it's become a mountain bike mecca.
Nice.
So who knows? Maybe they'll put a little bit more money into bicycles like they are into the Denver Broncos. I don't know.
Well, it all depends if the Broncos win, right? Then we'll have a little extra coin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, it's interesting, that the whole the money, and Walmart, did they buy it's like Moose Jaw, like another outdoor chain?
I think they
did. Decided to sell it because they're like, that's not quite what we want to get into.
Didn't they have a piece of Rafa as well?
Oh, maybe. I know they do a lot of investments to companies that are big brand names that nobody knows about, or is really, really hush hush.
Yeah.
Big players, because they're not just Walmart. I mean, they are a conglomerate of. I would compare them kind of like the Pond Holdings. Like they have like Pound Holdings has 50 bike companies and car companies and Caterpillar machinery, and it's like whatever division can make a buck. Take an opportunity, they make a division, it does that in that market or whatever. But yeah, it's interesting how the reach of the money trail, if you will, leads into a lot of different parts of everything. But a lot of cycling is really related to that. Like, oh, you're paying who? Ooh. they want you to pay them back, right? With interest, with investment. Yikes.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, going back to the top topic of going into 2026 is, thank goodness, I would say a lot of these companies are global because they can leverage other markets to help. Did you see the video that Josh from Silka put out recently talking about how Silka luckily diversified when they did, and what they're dealing with right now? I only watched about half of it, but as far as I got into it was, since they opened up warehouses in different parts of the world, Europe and Asia and Australia, they're able to be more diverse of what actually slapped them this summer from here with tariffs, that they were able to adjust and come out okay. I mean, nobody's great right now, but if you're doing okay, minimal losses, I think it's a good telltale. Versus some other companies, they're kind of forced, they're stuck with what they have now. They just can't shift it. Because he did talk about, oh, well, things got weird, so we just shifted inventory literally off the port and said, pull it back and send it to another country. Because we can't afford to pay those tariffs. I mean, you can make a double digits and negative profit. Like, no, you can't do that. We're not going to get the product in the States until they get that all figured out, if it's legal or not legal or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I'll let the experts deal with that, but yeah, I would say, for me, I mean, I shouldn't be sitting here right now because I have over 2 weeks worth of repairs. Get
to work.
And this is weird for January. I'm just sitting here, just like January 2nd hit, and it was like, boom, you're a month and a half out. I'm like, well, I readjust availability.
Some of that's, a lot of that's climate change. You're probably taking advantage. A lot of people are like going crazy because they can't or won't go skiing right now because the conditions aren't very good, and they want to get outside.
That's part of it. And we did have warmer weather, which is definitely a shot in the arm. I mean, I'm going to go for a ride this afternoon. It's going to be lower 60s. It's going to feel like 70s.
I wish I could join you.
Oh yeah, I wish you were down here. And that gets people that has more repairs and so forth. But what organically, not that I drove this or saw it as an opportunity and went for it, but it just kind of came my direction by all the work that I put into it. I've gotten a class of customers where apparently my business model intrigues and appeases and fills the need of those who have multiple bikes that do a lot of riding, but they may not be athletes, but they enjoy riding and they've been in it, and they just like a lot of different bikes, and they have a lot of different bikes. And they're the individuals that wait to the off season to, oh, okay, you can have this one now because I'm not going to be riding it for a little while. Right. And I have, that's what my fleet is that I have for repairs, is they're all the multiple bikes of these customers that are really good customers that continuously And I have one guy, it's like, he has so many bikes. It's like, if you ever get slow, just let me know. I mean, I got a laundry list of bikes for you to work on whenever you're ready. I'm like, whoa, that is so cool. Not that, you know, I love working on and doing service and all that, but it's just kind of interesting how my business model, which was mainly just initially at the beginning, just refurbishing road bikes, and that was it. Like, that was it. And now it's flipped to, I do some of that, but mostly refurbishing parts and frames. So that's what's selling right now. And the service aspect of it, and not just like fixing flats and changing derailleurs and all that kinds of stuff. It's more like, unfortunately, if I had a retail location and I had other employees where I can give the lower costs repairs to, I could accommodate that. But unfortunately, I need to make a living, and I'm the only one here. So my barometer level has to be a little bit higher. Like, I can't, unfortunately, do all the little stuff like that, because I need to focus on the bigger ticket repairs, which is, I wouldn't say it's boutiquey, but it kind of feels like a little higher class. I don't want to make it sound negative.
No, I mean, you've got to make money. It's got to make sense. And, you know, if, you know, at some point, you know, you never know where the market's going to go. At some point, you might need to start doing some of those repairs, or not. I mean, if you can't make money doing them, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So.
Yeah. But yeah, for right now, it seems to, I mean, obviously it's resonating because I got, you know, enough repairs to keep me busy for well into February and a month later, which is, you know, really good considering it's the off season. And the other aspect of this too is you're going to, I think, or you're most likely, more often or not, in most markets in the United States, you're going to see the labor rates go up for service. So your tune-up packages are going to go up. The small adjustments are going to go up, just because, not, you know, there's several reasons, you know, cost of living, everything else. It's expensive, more expensive to run the shop and so forth, all the overhead. And part of that overhead is the cost of employees. And employees are the most expensive piece for the most part, for most businesses. So to ensure those higher level trained employees, because you can't just be a bike mechanic and do it as a hobby without having a full-time job, right? To be able to support your family. So it's going to shift. That's going to be more expensive. So where I've been telling people in the off season, when a lot of these shops are having their tune-ups specials, like 50 or $100 or whatever, take advantage of that, because come springtime, it's going to be more expensive and it's going to be a longer lead time turnaround for that bike. And in addition to the quality of service that you do get from an off-season repair tune-up versus an in-season tune-up repair, for most shops, not all, but most shops, will be more rushed. So you're getting a higher quality tune-up with a discount in the off-season. So, and, you know, obviously some of these bigger shops, they need to keep their people busy. So they're obviously going to drop their prices a little bit to keep the cash flow. Just the same thing that big companies are discounting their bikes, even though they're maybe taking a negative, at least to get the cash flow coming in. But for me, though, which has been very interesting, everything is appointment based. And I decided about a year and a half ago, it's like, I can't crush myself in the summer. If I'm a month and a half to 2 months out, I'm just 2 months out. It's like, I can't do that to myself as much as I want to help everybody. But I got to first help myself keep sane, because it's just me. And, you know, the year of COVID when I did service, that killed me. I mean, I had bikes everywhere and I'm trying to take care of everybody and doing all that. And it's like, it has to be a better way of doing that. But what I think we're going to see a lot more of is small shops, more service oriented shops pop up, and they may be in the garage like me. But as long as they're insured and licensed, I mean, business license and so forth, I think that's going to be a really good boost to the cycling communities per se, not necessarily for the big companies, but for the cycling community, to keep people engaged in cycling without like, oh, that bike. I mean, I know people that they get a flat tire, that bike just sits there, and they don't fix it, and they'll wait till they have time to go get it fixed, and they don't ride until it is, and that could be the next season. So, if we can provide more service opportunities for people out there, I think that's going to be one of the wins for 2026, and also community building, like club rides, group rides, that kind of thing. Because those seem to be successful last year, like the what was it, the Foco Fondo?
Mm-hmm.
I think that was really successful this year, and a couple other ones.
Sure. I don't know if any of my friends did. Some of my friends have done that in the past, but I think also just being aware of where to say, hey, if you want to go to I know this great bike path, you got to try this one or that one, and you kind of be a source of information, not just for how their bike is working, but where's a great place to ride my bike. You want to, because if you tell somebody, man, you should, maybe if you never had an ambition to ride your bike to Greeley, but you ought to try it sometime on the Pooter Trail because it's beautiful. It's pretty dang flat, but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And then somebody will come in like, hey, thank you. That was a great experience. So, having that in your tool belt, is like, hey, you should try this or that, or if you're ready for something more challenging, here's, right up to Horsetooth or whatever. So, you want your shop to be fun. I mean, I think one thing I've always kind of had in my head, very, very few of your customers actually need their bicycles. It is a recreational opportunity. So your experience in your store, or my experience as a customer in your store, should be fun. So something to keep in.
Yeah, it's not just always about the newest frame, new bike, a new componentry. It's about the community feel, which I think that's gonna, if not already, has driven a lot of shops back to that. Because I mean, that's like the 90s feel of bike shops, and each shop had its own vibe. I mean, every bike shop in the 90s was definitely different. Usually mainly because of the owners. What industry can you say that we are a whole bunch of different oddballs and we are all unique?
There's got to be. I guess the barrier to entry for bicycle shops is maybe money and a little bit of stupidity.
Well, I just remember like my dad would be friends with all these different bike shop owners, and it's like if you go into like the corporate class or any other, like even in sporting goods, the sporting goods people, all the general managers and all that, they're all kind of cookie cutter kind of type of people. And bike shop owners, they were all just different breeds. My dad including myself. We're all just kind of a whole bunch of crazy wackadoodles trying to do something we're passionate about, and knowing that we're not. It's like we're insane. We're literally fit the title of insanity because we keep doing the same thing, hoping for a different outcome. So, but
where's that? Yeah, where's that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? It's
where is that? Maybe I'll come. We'll find some frame, used frame that just has a whole bunch of drug money stuffed down the tubes.
Well, I think some of it goes. So I when I was flying a lot over to Taiwan in particular, and I was fortunate enough, to fly business class for most of that, and I'd be sitting next to some hotshot business person, and probably making, multiple times more than I ever made, and maybe in my entire career per year. And and we'd strike up a conversation and say, "Oh, what do you do?" I'm in the bike business. And they go, "Oh, that's so cool." That it's fun. It's fun turning people onto a fun bike. It just is. It's a fun industry. You don't have to feel bad about what you're doing. It's a cool thing to do. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, personally, it's always been, and I'm so fortunate that I got dragged into it through my parents. I mean, it's not that I seeked out this by any means. It's just like I needed a job when I was 18, still living at home, Yeah. And it's become like, you see how it affects people, how what you do to help them carry on with their journey with the bicycle. And it's like, you're almost like they're drug addict therapists. Like you're providing them, like they're fixing their addiction of getting healthier or just getting out of their head. And you're relatable, and it's like they just, for them, it's like, regardless of how the industry or whatever brand or whatever, they get on the thing and they go for a ride, and the endorphins kick in, and you get fresh air, and they forget about their hot mess of a life for a minute, and they come back and it's like, I need more of that.
Yeah.
And some people just keep on going with it, which is great. And I'm just like their little bike dealer, in a sense of helping them carry on their used stuff or work on their new stuff that needs to be, ready for whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a very, very great experience. Not profitable. I'm not retiring anytime soon.
Yep.
But
it's fun. It's really a good experience when you can turn somebody onto that you can literally change somebody's life with a bicycle. So.
Oh yeah, you see it. I see it all the time.
I'm sure I've told you the story about when I was at the Spoke, and the guy came in and said, he was from Europe, and he brings in this old Motobecon. Stop me if I've told you this one before, but.
Oh, yeah, but you can. It's a great story. Yeah.
His name is Alexis, and nice guy. We kind of hit it off, and he brings in this bike, and it was a Motobecon. It had Mayfac brakes and simplex derailleurs. For those of you who are old enough, that you could only get the performance level of that bicycle to about somewhere about here. It wasn't going to go up here, but he brings it in. He was studying at DU, and the old Denver Spoke was across the street from DU, and we kind of hit it off, and he kept bringing it in. One of the reasons he brought it in is his Parrot Max, the Parrot, would chew the plastic off of his cable housing, and we kept having to repair that. So each time he came in, he goes, "You Americans, you're so materialistic. You got to have a racing bike. You just need to get from A to B." And I'm like, and it started to be a bit of a routine. And I think the third time he starts up again, and I said, "Alexis, put a sock in it," because I saw him looking at this beautiful Spanish blue DeRosa over in the pro section. I said, "Take this thing for a ride. I don't care if you're gone for 10 minutes, an hour, and then we'll talk." And so he goes out, and over an hour later, he comes back, and I said, "What do you think?" And he goes, "I don't know why people use drugs." And he bought that bike that day. Which this would have been mid 80s, so he was probably spending, probably the equivalent of spending $5,000 today, buying a, super record DeRosa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was Spanish blue, beautiful, beautiful bike. Man, that thing was cool. But, I actually literally helped Alexis change his life. He felt better about, things in general. I mean, it allows you to go literally blow off steam, and yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, regardless of how you think about the bike prices are, and they've gotten pretty high, but when you compare it to therapy, and medical bills that might prevent you to have. So it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Sense. I mean, that's one ER visit. Let me tell you, one ER visit is definitely a $5,000 to $6,000 bike right there. And
Yes.
yeah, it's like, some things you just can't prevent, of course, but it's.
Right.
But I mean, for heart health, for sanity, a lot of different things, a lot of positivity. It's proven. It's not a misnomer. And for our neck of the woods, we were very fortunate because we have a lot of bike paths. But that's where, I mean, companies like Peloton and the spin classes and all those have cropped up in the off season for keeping those legs going, and the cardiovascular. It's this huge beneficial for that. But seeing this industry that we're going to see some changes, and we've already seen a whole bunch of changes. And I've seen successes, but it's not at the big corporate level. So it's going to be interesting to see how they fare for the next year or two. And maybe some of them are just going to either sell out or close down, or who knows. But it's conversations that I've had. Cycling industry has always been, it's rough in all aspects of it. And when you're looking at parts distributors to wholesalers to bike manufacturers, it has been and going to be really tricky for them. But I think it kind of might help the independent bike dealer that's finding opportunity with service and used, and brands that are really looking to work with them, versus it's felt like the big corporations were driving the narratives, like, oh no, you need to sell these because this is what we've decided that you need to sell, versus what the market really is, or being versatile to your market. I mean, there's one brand I know specifically, like in the early 2000s and the teens, that basically forced the same cookie cutter parts and componentry and accessory mix as well as bikes to all the shops that they sold to be a dealer for them. You had to carry a lot of products that wouldn't even fit your niche or your market. And then you're just sitting here with like a huge invoice that you have to pay to them. And you're like, with product that you're not going to sell. And you're like, yeah, then all of a sudden you're discounting their product after a year, whatever the time lapses till when you can. And that's even if you can get rid of it. And then you're taking a negative deficit. So I think it's going to, in a weird way, kind of wake up the reality of going back to these companies. We're going to have to go back to like their grassroots, I think. They're like, okay, how did we get here initially? By working with dealers, working with communities, putting a lot of investment into that, and making sure the dealers are healthy. However they're going to work with them with the dating or invoicing and all that. Then they're going to have to go to their banks and go, we need extension on our, we want bigger loans or what have you. But what I think it's going to do is really, in the bottom line, have opportunities for bike shops to build better communities in their cycling, and not so brand driven, more just their own shop driven. And I think that's going to, for the consumer, eventually we'll get better price point bikes or products, and products that actually fits to what kind of riding they're doing in their particular markets to have a better experience, hopefully.
Yeah.
I think there's been a huge lapse of that in the last couple decades, missing the mark on that. And they need to cultivate the next generation of riders. And you don't want to be reliant on bikes that are, like you said, or poorly manufactured or assembled, and they don't have a really good experience riding. So they're not like, I want to get out of that. I want to get that scooter instead because my bike's all clunky, you know?
Part of it, I think, for a shop, if you can, like I did with my friend Alexis, is he understood the value. He didn't see the value originally. And I said, just try it, and that can be the thing, is just open to, looking for those opportunities. If somebody's not believing in the bicycle as a positive experience, sometimes you can provide them that experience and then say, oh, I see the value. I'll spend that amount of money.
Yeah.
And, like a lot of the message of what we've been talking about for whatever the past 2 hours, whatever it's been, that price does not necessarily improve the quality of the experience. So you can have a really good experience just riding a bike. I mean, I've got my 47-pound Schwinn American in the garage there in Fort Collins. It's kind of fun, for a certain type of ride. So part of it is know what you have, ask the right questions, of the customer. Just say, hey, what are you looking for? You just looking for a bike to get back and forth to work? Or you're going to ride the paths, and then if you can guide them and help them, a lot of times you might have a customer for life if you can get, turn them on a little bit. So.
Exactly. Also, another thing I found very interesting in the used market is if somebody has a really good experience with a specific brand as they bought new or bought used, their opportunity for them to, or if they have an opportunity to buy new, they will at least start looking at, if not buy the brand that they started with as used.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's weird brand loyalty, but I don't think it's really brand. I think it's just that bike felt comfortable to them. It might be the geometry of it, that kind of feel, or they gravitated. I don't think anybody really, I could be completely wrong on this, but I don't think anybody, for the most part, for the general novice riders, they don't research the brands. Like, they're not going, well, Specialized has all this historical or whatever, or the Trek came from here and all that. They may know a little bit of it, but they're not going to go, that's not going to sway their decision on buying that bike. It's going to be, oh, that's my size. It rides smooth. It's the one to similar that I bought used. And therefore, I've mentioned this to a lot of shops. Like, if they're carrying a specific brand, have some less expensive used models of that, maybe older, on your floor to help them lead into that brand. You start off with a old Trek 1000. You ride that for a while, and you're like, oh, I have a good time. It's like, I actually got a tax refund this year, and thinking about looking at that carbon one, or the gravel version, or whatever. And then like you do as a salesperson, you're like, here, just go for a ride. I'll see you when I see you. And I think there's an opportunity there for a lot of smaller or independent bike shops to leverage that, to help first bring in a price point that's more of a comfortable level for their customers coming in, so they're not alienated by the $10,000, the $15,000 bikes that when I go walk into any of the corporate stores, that's all you see when you walk in the door. And the marketing part of me is going, that's so dumb. You can have it, but you're killing yourself.
Well, unfortunately, some of them, they have to do that because of the business. It's like, if you've got an expensive retail spot, you've got, X number of employees, you've been marketing, they have to sell those bikes in order to make money, because they can't make money on lower price bikes in some cases. So. Yeah,
it's because of the volume's just not there.
Right.
Yeah. It's, and it goes back to real estate. It's, if we would have bought our own building when we first started out, or within the first venture of expanding, and just like, oh no, we're just gonna buy, that would have changed the whole trajectory of our business, because when you're constantly leasing and then you're paying a new lease structure every 3 to 5 years, it just erodes your margins of whatever you gained. And therefore, all the major successful bike shops, excluding a few, but most bike shops that I've seen that have really made it big, own their own buildings, including the one at Lee's. I mean, that guy still owns the buildings. He's just leasing it to Specialized now. It's like, you take care of it. You deal with the business.
I think he sold. I think he sold downtown. I think he sold that.
Really?
I think he did.
Wow.
Maybe not. I'm not sure, but
I mean, the upkeep on that building. I think that building's super old.
yeah.
And the remodeling on it in the 70s or 80s is just gotta. I mean, it's probably all just about ready to fall apart. Yeah. Didn't he have plans at one time to just have it swiped and just build a new building there? I think he had.
I don't know. I'm not aware of that, but maybe. Who knows?
I thought he was thinking about it. Then I think it became like it's a historical building, so he was able to do it.
Well, I mean, that is a great location. I mean, it's Although it was interesting. It's a great location for service and stuff like that. It's challenging for parking, because I remember that when I was working for the Trek stores, that one wasn't doing as well as we were by far. We were much more profitable on, at the South location than we were downtown. So.
Yeah, the Lee's location we're talking about is right across the street from CSU college, and obviously, anywhere a big college, you're going to have very expensive real estate, and it was a shop where obviously parking was a hassle. But I worked in that shop a couple times, and it was really crazy mix of customers because it also butts up against the very expensive houses in Fort Collins. Mm-hmm. So you had your very well-to-do off customer that looked homeless, and then you have your homeless, and then you had your college kids, and it was interesting because you did not know what you're going to get by minute working there. You'd have somebody looking at that $5,000 bike to one guy that once has his Ross put back together, and you're like, oh my goodness, it's extreme. And then college you kick in, and it's like, oh my goodness, yeah. But yeah, that was the experience, and that's a very different dynamic of a business to run compared to other bike shops. So like bike shops, they all have different variations, and basically they're really driven, or they are altered over time to their market that's around them. And working at Big Five Sporting Goods, big bad corporate, sporting good chain, we're talking to the management, upper management, and even up to the CFO, whatever level. They bought one location, or opened a location is right across Washington University, and their cookie cutter layout and policies and procedures and all that did not fit. It was like they had they had to structure that one specifically for that store, because it's just the whole the college dynamics was so different than all their other stores that they had. They do openly admit it was a very big learning experience. I mean, it was like really huge. So when Trek purchased those 3 locations, they didn't know what to do with the North location. So it was so college heavy. It was just didn't really fit in their philosophy of trying to do business. South store is definitely, the dollars and the high end and the boutique dynamics, but that one just didn't work for them. So when Specialized moved in there, did you ever meet Jesse Porter? I mean, you met Porter. Well, he's the lead Specialized retail guy.
He's way up at Specialized these days.
I forget the title, but since he's worked those stores, he knows how it was. I think he knows how to get them to work. So, and be more diverse. Maybe. But I've heard things like that area has changed enough that, from the mechanics that work there is like, it's different than when you worked here. Probably.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's the real estate downtown. I mean, there's $1 million condos and stuff downtown. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's like a lot of the smaller, like downtown Loveland's did the same thing. Like, used to be a retirement community here where like the downtown Loveland was just, like a diner and 3 or 4 thrift stores, and maybe a dive bar or two. Now they're redoing the whole sidewalk structure of it. You got your high-end restaurants, you got a movie theater, you got all these, different shops and business centers, and then they put in a whole bunch of condos, and you look at the prices on the condos and they're in the millions. You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's just insane. It's a little sleepy town, but it's like it's kind of funny though, John. I have people come up from Denver and they'll drop off their bikes and then they'll go tool around downtown Loveland and whatever, and you could see it when they come pick up their bike. They're like, we may have to move up here. It's like the hidden secret. I'm like, not everybody move up here. It's already.
It's the same thing in Fort Fun, man. It's
oh yeah,
the
best kept secret, which no longer a secret. They're just building like crazy. But the infrastructure is still, the bicycle infrastructure is being pushed still by the narrative of the cities here in the county to work towards that. So we're fortunate, even though they may not have federal money to help build that anymore, or a Duran Dry or whatever, but they're getting creative. I think they're going to get creative. I think they're going to leverage like private funding to try to keep that infrastructure keep going, kind of thing.
So.
Yeah. I mean, you build it in somewhere. Like if you're going to build a neighborhood, put it on the builders. It's like a certain amount of that needs to be put towards the bike paths. Or parts.
I kind of remember a story about the Vale path from the base of the Vale bike path along I-70. I think when they were building I-70, the guys running that construction project had asphalt left over and actually built the path over Vale Pass.
Oh wow.
Just on kind of a whim, and it turned. I mean, that is a gorgeous, beautiful path.
Yeah, I had customers ridden that, and they're like, "You got to do it."
And actually, I think that was a catalyst for, that triggered a lot of other bike path development around Colorado, just because it's like I love riding that path. It's like people come back, and I mean, it's definitely an asset for that community and for a lot of people's lives. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, I think the resort towns really leveraged in the 90s. I think Winter Park was one of the first ones to do the ski lifts. They'd haul your bike from the top of the mountain, and that was a blast. I mean, we get invited up as bike mechanics. They were trying to promote it, right? So they'd invite us all as mechanics up there, and we'd be like, with all of their mountain bike gear and all that, and they'd drag us to the top and feed us lunch and just ride the paths. And it's like, this is so cool. And I mean, that time Winter Park's path system was nice. It was really maintained well at the time, even. Then Keystone did theirs, but their path system wasn't as the terrain wasn't as smooth. Just beat the hell out of you. It's so hard. I mean, I only did it like twice. I'm like, I can't do that.
No, that's not.
In my 20s, it beat me. I'm like, oh my God.
You want to go have fun.
Yeah. Destroyed me and my bike and everything in between. Like, that system needs some help. I'm sure it's way better now. Not to say that, I mean, at the beginning, but that had a huge insurgence of getting those sleepy ski towns to be very more versatile in the off season for sure. And
Yeah.
also building more cycling community as well. Even Steamboat still does the lifts and all that too. So it's really beautiful. Great opportunity to get up there, do stuff like that. In any case,
all right.
Well, we beat this Tuesday up.
Yeah, we did.
That's it. Everybody's still watching.
All right.
Well, thanks for joining me, John, and with all your insights and all that. I think, we'll get through it.
Hope so.
Take one day at a time.
It's worth fighting for.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, be good.
Yeah. You try to stay warm up there in your neck of the woods. Let me know when you're back in town.
I will. Yeah. Hopefully in the next month or so.
Sounds good.
All right.
I'm down to thaw out.
All right.
All right. Well, all you watching, thank you for joining us here at I Know a Guy Bicycles. Makes this channel what it is, and appreciate everybody chatting in. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to dive into the chat today, but in Freak Out Friday at 10 o'clock Mountain Time, I'll be doing that as well. So in any case, thanks again for everybody to hang out, and I hope everybody has a wonderful week coming up, and I will basically have one sponsor I should mention that makes these live streams available for everyone. And we talked about wheels. Here's an opportunity to check out some wheels that are not too expensive.
Bicycle Wheel Warehouse in California has an excellent selection of wheels to choose from. They're pre-built, or also you can have them custom built up to various sizes. You can reach out to them directly if you have something unique like the 650 wheel or a different style hub. Therefore, it makes it an excellent bike wheel set company that actually provides good wheel sets without breaking the bank. You will find them being very trusted and true. They really hold up under a lot of different riding conditions and so forth. It takes the standard old school wheel building practices and puts them in a better format. But in any case, this is a wheel set you'll be really love to have. It'll perform for you for a long period of time, and the quality and the attention to detail is superb. You'll find information about this company in the description below, with also my personal coupon code. I hope you find a good wheel set where it works for you.
They also have a special on those that are actually 25% off. Same code, IK20 or IK25 will work for the 25% off. So if you're looking for a wheel set for your newer ride or old ride that needs to be refurbished, give them a shout out. But in any case, well, thank you all for hanging out with me. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you like content like this, please like and subscribe. If you're watching this on the replay, please keep the conversation going. Put it in the comments below. And until next Tuesday, if it's Tuesday in your neck of the woods, it's Shop Talk Tuesday. And again, thanks for hanging out in the garage with me. And until then, have a wonderful day.